Good afternoon and welcome to the Midweek Podcast. I'm joined as always by my good mates James and Steve. How you doing, gents?
All good.
Yeah, very good.
And here we are at the half-year stage. We've got the FTSE up 5% so far this year. Not great compared with some markets. FTSE 250 is actually up less, up only 3% this year. But unsurprisingly, really, because all the action's been in the US, which is tech heavy. And Steve, more tech action with some big names joining the indices, right?
Yeah, interesting. So I mean, Alphabet was very much front and center of the news this week. It joined the Dow Jones Index, and this was announced a few weeks back. But it started trading as part of the Dow Jones Index on Monday. And its shares got about a 5% pop. Now, of course, what that means is that tracker funds that track the Dow Jones Index will have to buy some Google shares in order to fill up their quota, and they would have sold off the exiting company, which is Verizon Technologies. But the other interesting dynamic as well is one of the hottest stocks of the year so far, SK Hynix. So we talked ad nauseum almost about memory chips. Well, this is one of the biggest memory chip manufacturers out of South Korea. It's been really difficult for investors to get hold of this. The UK investors, you can't buy it on mainstream platforms. So the only way really you can access it is through other technology-led sort of funds. So the fact that it's going to have ADRs now in Nasdaq, this will be from the 10th of July, means you'll be able to access those ADRs. So ADRs will equal 10 shares in SK Hynix. So it's going to be quite pricey because I calculate it's going to cost you about 12 grand per ADR. So that's on my basic back of notebook arithmetic. So don't hold me to that. I might be wrong. Maybe I'm adding a zero or so, but it will be quite a pricey ADR, but it gives us at least access to if you want to own that stock directly.
Yeah, and as you've said in the past, that is one of the key picks and shovels for this whole AI revolution that's going on.
I mean, just to put it into context, Ian, you just mentioned some of the global markets and what they've done this year so far. The Kospi, the South Korean market, we've talked about that quite a lot in recent podcasts. It's up over 90% this year. But SK Hynix, its share price is up nearly 280% this year alone in 6 months. I mean, it's pretty staggering the turnaround in that business. And yet its PE ratio is around 25. So, I mean, it's not stratospheric by any means. It's just come from a very low base and it's grown very, very rapidly. Now, whether there's value in buying it at this point, that's for people to decide themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. James, you and we've had a busy week with consumer names, haven't we? Which ones are you looking at?
Yeah, they've been coming thick and fast, haven't they, Ian? So Associated British Foods, big talking point today. So the weak outlook for the sugar business has really overshadowed pretty decent results from Primark, I thought. Although like-for-likes were sort of under pressure, it's really sparked that debate about the demerger of Primark, and whether this is a good time. Some analysts are saying, it's good for Primark to unshackle itself from the food business, from that sort of volatile sugar business. Others are saying it will, lack that dependability of the food business. So take your money, takes your choice.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, Saga, strong start to the year, but it already had a good run and there was no upgrade. So I think the market was a little bit disappointed with that. And then just at the small cap end of the market, we've had Cake Box off to a good start. And this morning, Supreme. Now, this is the vape brands, 88 Vape. They're navigating the regulation in that market rather well, I think. And they've also bought some very interesting drinks brands like Slim Fast and Thai Fu. So, lots going on with Supreme.
I noticed with Supreme, James, because I use vapes and I know the pricing mechanism hasn't come in yet. I think it comes in September, so it will suddenly add a significant amount of money onto the current cost of selling vape juice and vape kits and so on. So I guess that the impact on them will come in future results rather than so far.
Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. There's a lot of extra complexity in that market, and I think they're a sort of sizable player. They should probably be able to navigate it better than some of the smaller operators.
And you've just been doing it as well. Nike results you picked up today as well, didn't you? They were overnight. They were a bit kind of meh. But I mean, I think the market seemed to basically like the general turnaround theme.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's like turning around one of the super tankers, isn't it, Nike? It's such a huge business. So I think although the Q4 results they beat on revenue and EPS, the outlook was a bit downbeat, and it's just taking longer. I think investors are getting a bit frustrated with the pace of change there.
Well, I'll flag today we had an upgrade from CMC Markets. It's not a stock that we follow that closely, but what's really interesting is the B2B business. I didn't have it down as a B2B operator, really. I thought it was more B2C, retail punters, doing derivative trading and contracts for difference and so on. But they said the B2B business has taken off and they've come up with a great big upgrade. So the shares are up 25%. I think that caught everybody on the hop. The other thing that struck me today, great results from Polar Capital Holdings, where, of course, you've got very, very popular Polar Capital Technology and healthcare trusts. They're big increase in AUM. And actually, if anything, their financial year ended at the end of March, when, of course, markets were at a low. So I think actually the results probably understated how well they've been doing, because the performance had sort of tailed off through the end of March. But that's come roaring back, obviously, as have markets. And they've almost increased assets by another 50% between March and today, which is extraordinary. One of yours, isn't it, James?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Polar Capital Tech, you mean?
Yeah, Polar Capital Tech. And Steve, you've written that up as well.
I mean, Polar Capital Technology Trust has been an outstanding performer for 2 decades plus, since Ben Rogoff, took over running the fund. But it's up 55% this year to date.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most popular trusts owned by retail investors. And we looked at some of the most popular retail investor trusts just earlier this week. And 3i are in there, Pershing Square are in there, interestingly enough, Fidelity are in there. So it's worth having a look at. The way we angled the piece was, why do retail investors hold these shares, and is there a good reason for you to go and buy them if you don't own them already? So it's well worth coming to our website just to have a look at that. Polar Capital Technology Trust is one of those 6 really popular investment trusts, and they're really, we're looking at sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 billion in assets under management. So they're sizable funds.
Yeah. And interesting, as you say, it is up, not just up 55%. It's the best performing FTSE stock this year, FTSE 100 stock this year. Now, it's not technology, or that invests in technology. Technically, it's a financial. And what's interesting is, if you put aside Computer Center, which is the only actual technology stock in the top 10 best performers this year, the vast majority of financials. You've got Beasley on there. I think that's in a takeover situation. Schroders is definitely in a takeover situation. Yeah. You've got IG Group, you've got Hiscox, and as I mentioned today, it's a FTSE 250 name, but CMC is one of the best performers this year with that huge jump. What have we got still to look forward to, James?
Yeah, well, we've got another popular trust tomorrow with the AGM, Scottish Mortgage. Well, that will sort of spark something. We'll keep an eye out there, and also full-year results from Currys as well. So, has the World Cup sparked that boom in TV sales that we expect? Or I think there's a new CEO taking over as well, but that'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Big match tonight, fellas. Big match tonight.
There's something going on at 5 o'clock this afternoon, isn't there? Speaking of events coming up, actually, we've got a podcast put in for tomorrow. We'll be doing it. It's with Murray International Trust, and it's a fascinating trust. I mean, it's got a very, very loyal and large fan base, and a very long reputation for generating good capital growth, but really good dividends, reliable dividends. So it'd be really interesting to touch base with Samantha Fitzpatrick, one of the managers there. She'll be joining us, James and I, on the podcast tomorrow, and we'll get her to take us through. What is their objective? What are they trying to achieve? And what is the advantages of going into the active world as opposed to going into the passive world? So hopefully she'll be able to answer some of those questions.
Yeah, brilliant. I look forward to tuning into that, fellas. Well, that's all from us today. So, as Steve says, tune into that tomorrow. Don't miss that. And we'll catch up with you with our regular podcast on Friday. Bye for now.
Take care.